Hey, this is AnnRenee with Aha Podcast. And this is a very special episode. One girl is not here today, but I am joined by a very special guest, my friend, producer extraordinaire, and fellow TV and film head, Lynne McDaniel.
Hello there.
Lynne and I met. Oh, sorry, Lynne.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Lynne and I met about 15 years ago, not long after she'd arrived in New Orleans. And we started talking all those years ago, and we continue to have interesting conversations to this day about almost everything. But no matter what we're talking about, we managed to include TV and film in the conversation. What we're watching, what we love, what was not so great. So I am super, super delighted that Lynne is joining me today. And our topic of a conversation is the just wrapped 10-part series, Your Honor, on Showtime. So I'll let Lynne introduce herself a little bit. Hey, Lynne.
Hey, Angela. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be a guest on the AHA podcast. And that intro was perfect because, yes, indeed, we have been talking movies, TV forever. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm Lynne McDaniel. I'm CEO and founder of Brown Girl Media, which is we call it a modern media company focusing on the creation and monetization of digital content. And our audience are women of color. And we distribute that content through our mobile-enabled website, ahnewnetwork.com. So check us out because we have some interesting content, curated and original content.
Sweet. So I'm going to just begin because Lynne and I have a reputation. I'm going to say Lynne and I have a reputation. We talk, and sometimes we talk a lot. So I'm going to jump right in so we can get started by saying how disappointed I was at Your Honor. At first at the finale, but just, in fact, disappointed doesn't even begin to describe my emotions. I was furious. And I wrote that on my on our AHA Instagram account. I mean, I was just mad as hell. And I think the reason, there are multiple reasons, but I am sometimes hard pressed to invest in 10-part series or 10-part multiple episode series because I generally lose interest. So when I make a point of staying with something, 10 episodes, that's an investment of my time, of my interest, of my patience. And so I've just felt so let down. There was no payoff with Your Honor.
I
So
have to agree.
Yeah, Lynne.
Yeah, I have to agree. I had such high hopes for Your Honor. A big fan of Bryan Cranston, and the concept sounded interesting. Yeah. But after spending 10 episodes of the up and down and the emotional trauma of it all, to have that as the finale was just a big letdown. I mean, even just how it ended, and I guess spoiler alert, we are going to talk about how it ended. So,
spoiler alert. Okay, yeah. I forget to do that.
But one of the things that I thought is, when you're building up these characters and only to have a minor character kill the main character, and it just didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
There's so much about the series that didn't make sense. Some inconsistencies, some very loose ends, like, the whole mother's affair. What? Yeah. Why was that even brought in? Do you know? Because I rewatched WTF. It and still didn't.
WTF. That's all I could say about that. But I thought about that too
Uh-huh.
Lynn, and I was thinking, was it just another way of trying to sell us on um shoot, now I forget his name.
The
What is
Desire Gang,
no, Adam and the judge's name. What is the judge's name? Michael?
Michael. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it was like, in the conversation, his chamber with Adam about his mom and and Adam had found out about the affair and why he didn't tell him and why did you lie to me? And he's like, he gave the whole story about his mother having a broken rib and, she didn't complain. Is that a lie or is that love? And I was like, are they still trying to redeem Michael to us? Because he was beyond redemption
at that point.
Right.
Yeah. And listen, I get it. And I think you probably do too as a parent. You would do anything for your child. So that part of the series, I completely understood. Michael saying, I'm going to take the fall for this. But then it just went off the rails with him killing people and setting up his friends and not having any regard for what happens.
Yeah.
And with such casualness, the whole and then the way he treated his son, go on and, you're just going to go on to college and have a great life. It's like, really? That's what we're doing? Like,
that's what we did today?
I honestly was saying to myself, and we'll get to the son in a little later, I'm sure. But that whole, okay, yes, a parent will do anything for their child. And that's the premise of the show. And I liked how they set it up at the beginning, that he was such a decent judge that he even went to that woman's house to see how it was set up so that he could, call that cop on his lie.
Absolutely.
So how they set that up was great. And then how he just fell down that rabbit hole. It almost felt unbelievable. And
yeah. And it made me think, because it's the same actor, of course, Bryan Cranston, I was thinking about
Breaking Bad.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my questions at that series finale was he always bad? Well, let me say this. I think we all have the capacity for doing bad things for certain reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The capacity to do bad. I don't think that's, none of us are without that. So, but he was so completely transformed into this bad man, fearful, even you were fearful, like his wife feared him to even be in the room with him. So I always thought, was he always bad, looking for a way out? Did he want to break bad?
Yeah.
Or was he really a good guy? And then with the cancer and needing the money, so he went down, as you said, that rabbit hole. And I had the same feeling about Michael as I was watching him. Maybe you start on some kind of path and then it's just easy to continue to do bad things.
Yeah.
But I'll only say one of this about the Adam and his. There was somewhere, I don't know which episode this was, 5 or 6, when Jimmy Baxter had the gun to his head and was going to kill him. And, when he said he was being blackmailed by that guy, so he met him at the lake. Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, right here, it's not the perfect solution because you could just let Jimmy blow his brains out. But Jimmy didn't know anything about Adam. And if I'm wrong, correct me on that. So if he truly were going to give his life to save his son or do anything to save his son, up into including giving his life, he could have done it right at that moment.
Good point. Good point.
So after that, it stopped.
It could have all been over.
Yes, exactly. It stopped being about saving Adam. Yeah, I just that was one of those. Even the rationale was like, okay, now that's just gone. And something else you said that really tore at me, and it was the way he discarded these relationships with these people who loved and admired him, and
Mm-hmm.
how he seemed not to be bothered by the destruction of the relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, particularly when
Yes.
the judge, his friend, the female judge,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, was being arrested after he and she got together and had drinks, and he turns to
Mm-hmm.
Lee and says, "I love you." Like, at some point, I guess my disappointment was, at some point I thought he was going to do something decent, even in the
And
end. I
but
guess,
didn't
like, I
he? I
think he
mean, didn't
will
he
wind
set
up
her?
making it so that this guy is found guilty, but
Mm-hmm.
he didn't.
He set her up, and I can't remember the judge's name, the
Yeah.
actress who I admire.
Yeah.
But that's why he was saying, two more drinks, two more drinks. It's like he was setting her up to be stopped so that she could be removed.
Yes.
And I just said to myself, he will stop at nothing. So how honorable a person could he have been? Or is it, I'm honorable as long as my livelihood and my son, my family is not at stake?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah. But it seemed like all of those folk, even the detective Nancy Costello,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Lee, I'm remembering her first name, and that judge, like, they all really regarded him. So
mm-hmm.
it had been these years long relationships,
Yeah. But
built,
isn't that,
strengthened over
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. So to
But
just be
what's
able
this
to discard
saying?
them, and like you said, so casually, just
Yes.
really bothered me.
Yeah. I think the saying, I can't remember the exact saying. It's like, but once you tell one lie, you have to tell 10. And at that point, you're just in, survival mode. And it came across as such a casual disregard for those relationships and using people,
Hmm.
deliberately
Oh,
using
yeah.
people.
And knowing
And
them well, he was
yes,
manipulative. Because
manipulative,
he knew,
exactly.
yeah, he knew how Lee, who I believe had been maybe his clerk or something at some time,
Yeah, his
at
intern
some
at
point.
one
Yeah.
point. Uh-huh.
So he knew how much she looked up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so to then start to play with her emotions about how
Mm-hmm.
he had these romantic feelings
Mm-hmm.
for her. And then at
And
certain
that's
point,
so
okay.
funny because at first I didn't get that. At first I thought they were just renewing a relationship.
Hmm.
But then I realized no, he probably saw that there was something there, and so now he's going to try to manipulate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
telling
what
you,
I'm saying.
Michael.
Woo!
Okay,
He
let's
was
talk about
totally he was totally making me scream at him. And I'm
let's talk
screaming.
about
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm screaming
like
at the characters because I want somebody to find him out.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
isn't that, I guess that is kind of the funny thing, is that when you think you know someone,
Yeah.
you would never think this person would never do that. I mean, even when he, at the beginning, when he went to turn his son in, I mean, to have his son turn himself in,
Mm-hmm.
until he realized who his son had killed, and then he realized he's not going to survive. He's not going to survive trial because
Right.
Jimmy Baxter is probably going to kill him.
Right.
And so when I think about, the whole son, I got to get to the son because
Go ahead, girl. Get to the sun.
I don't understand that character, and I don't know if that was direction, if that was just bad acting, but
Hey,
the
I thought
way
he was the
that,
weakest link out of them.
yeah, that whole, and that whole relationship with Jimmy Baxter's daughter, like, get out of here.
Right.
That was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it wasn't explained right,
Mm-hmm.
because it almost seemed like your father is trying to save your life, and you're making some dumb moves.
Dumbass.
Right? Okay, I didn't know if we could,
Yeah.
some
Dumbass
dumbass
decisions.
moves.
Yeah. Turning off the
And
phone, not answering. Hey, boy.
yeah, but even just developing a relationship with the girl whose brother you have killed,
Right.
and are not taking responsibility for, and have set in motion all of these things to happen, first of all, to all the Black people in the show. Because the way they just totally disregarded that family and blew up that house and killed the son. And I mean, it was just, whoa.
Yeah.
And I just thought the son's character, his storyline, not him killing the person, but the relationship with the daughter of Jimmy Baxter, it just didn't play out well for me. It seemed like lazy storytelling. I need to make a connection between those two. Well, that didn't work for me. Between not me, but the writers.
Right.
It seemed like the writers were like, we need to make a connection. Oh, I know. Let's have them get romantically involved.
Yeah, which is
and
really,
maybe,
the least you can do with the man and the woman.
Yeah.
But, it's the least thing you do. Let's make them romantically involved.
Yeah, which, it's like, had they come together in a different way, but not a deliberate way, I would have found it more believable. And then the son's, the actor that played the son, I felt, I don't know, he was the weakest. He was the weakest for me.
I think that had to do with the actor himself, and I also think it had to do with not a lot of character development. Yeah, after killing the Baxter kid, there was not much for him to do. So it's always just all scrunched up, looking all
sad.
You're in so much pain,
sensitive,
sad. And when you're a white 17-year-old, then you're you're sensitive.
You're sensitive.
You're sensitive. If you're a 17-year-old Black kid and you've killed someone, whether it's accidental or not, you're a freaking murderer. You're a gangster. You're a thug.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
And Michael had no problem throwing Kofi under the bus like that.
Totally.
I was so offended by that. And let's get to that. Let's get to that whole, and maybe this is, happens in real life, not just in New Orleans, but in, a lot of cities where there is so much corruption that takes place. And so many, the judges, the police, the city officials. But this was really very telling about how Black people in the criminal justice system are treated. And I wonder what you think, if the writers really thought about that. Was that intentional on their part, or they just didn't care?
I think it was intentional.
Okay.
And I think it is true to life. That was a real depiction of the way the criminal justice works for Black folk and for poor folk. So I thought it was one of the most accurate elements of storytelling. Yeah, I really did.
Well, knowing that the guy who was running for mayor kind of set that whole thing in motion, in his connection to the Desire Gang. Let's talk about the Desire Gang. Why bring them in and make them seem all, tough and, but when it comes to, I'm going to walk up in your place, and I can't remember if she went to him or he went to her, which time this conversation took place, where she was like, well, I guess we're not going to solve this today. Only to have the Desire Gang be nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Almost a non-element.
Yeah. And it's like, that was, or maybe that was meant to show how, they're involved in the corruption as well. That with the police, with city officials, But I just felt the Desire Gang, just bringing the Desire Gang into it like that. And that woman sitting there sucking on that toothpick, that irritated the hell out of me. It was like, it felt so stereotypical.
Yeah. And not only that, I was thinking, okay, so you're a roller, right? You're a drug, You big time drug
Queen
dealer. I mean,
pin.
so somebody can rip you off of what was the Baxter deal? The son Baxter,
She
Carlo and
was
his
a,
little dumbass friend.
yeah,
They
Joey.
and you just what? Do nothing?
Hmm. Well,
I
that's
was
the thing. She. Maybe they didn't have time to finish that storyline because I think that was 8 or 9 when he takes the drugs, and at first he wasn't going to take them, and she says, no, we know where you live, and so that's why she let him take the drugs, and he sold it, he turned it over, but before he could pay her, he got arrested. That's why she was
yeah,
like, somebody's gonna have to pay me.
right.
But
But did
I don't
anybody
think
ever
there was
pay her?
enough. Well, no, but I think that was because there wasn't enough time left in the series to really cover that, because by then Carlos is still, in on trial, and the story really revolves around Jimmy Baxter trying to keep Michael on track. So maybe if they had caught Joey before, Joey
Oh,
Baxter
that's
caught
thank you for
him.
that
I
because I
mean,
just call him the dumbass
not
friend.
Joey, right? Mike before Jimmy Baxter caught him.
Yeah,
She may have, but it was just how she and Jimmy Baxter interacted that felt a little like, yeah, he's still the kingpin.
yeah, and
I
I didn't like that.
didn't either. I
Yeah,
didn't
and
either.
that's always my problems with these kind of stories. I found that even though Michael was manipulative and he's taking advantage of some years long relationships where I'm sure honesty and love have been established, there's something
Mm-hmm.
about somebody when they're doing a consistent wrong in a small space, because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about Carlo Baxter and the Baxter family, that good writing would have dictated somebody would have just taken a second and say, wait, something about this is not right. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really disappointed truly in the detective because at first I thought she was very smart in the way a detective has to be. The evidence that's presented before you, and then you have to have something, a knowing, a gut
Mm-hmm.
feeling, as it is
Mm-hmm.
often referred to. But her interactions with Michael proved nothing. And even in the was it the last episode when she walks down to Jimmy Baxter and his goon and says, I
Mm-hmm.
see you if you do
Mm-hmm.
anything to him. And I'm like, do you see
Mm-hmm.
them talking to him in
Right.
a trial that's ongoing? Like I got tired of everybody being blinded
Yeah. Yeah.
by loyalty.
Especially in the courtroom, because some of the decisions that he was making, especially in that last episode, were like, huh?
Yeah.
But the district attorney, who was that actress's name? Or the
Mara.
prosecuting attorney.
Yeah.
She was on to him.
Oh yeah, that look
She
at
was
the
on
end
to
when
him.
she just was
Yeah.
like, "Ain't this about a beat?"
Uh-huh. Like something, that was the only time that
Yeah,
I felt like somebody peeped. Something is not right here.
right.
Um, but I think you're right. I think at some point we'll go back to the detective Costello, I think her name was.
Nancy.
I
Yeah.
think because she kept pursuing the murder of his wife. And so she was feeling like, I really need to help him solve this. That it overshadowed her instinct, really. That
Right.
what about, because I mean, first of all, this whole hinged on the 9th and the 10th of October. The car was stolen on the 10th. The murder happened on the 9th. It just seemed too simplistic. Like nobody thought to look that up. Nobody thought to say, where was Kofi on the 9th
Mm-hmm.
until the trial. And I mean, towards the end.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But even when he was in jail for stealing the car and the murder, at that point he was in car. That nobody thought to say, "Where were you on the 9th?"
Right.
And I'm thinking, did they not know the car was stolen on a night? At what point? I mean, it seems so simplistic. And maybe that was my issue. One of my issues with this series is that it seemed too simplistic. Like they were creating scenarios to fit the story, and they felt unrealistic sometimes. And go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Lynne.
Mm-hmm. And so, and a lot of times when I'm watching a show, I try not to be overly critical because when you're a TV head, you're looking at everything.
Yeah.
It's not just entertainment. It's like I love good storytelling and I love good writing, and I'm expecting to be like, it has my attention because I didn't see that coming. That's what I was expecting.
Right.
With Your Honor, I was like, okay, come on,
right.
Really?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to solve that? That's how you're going to explain that away?
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to leap ahead. I'm not one of those people who are trying to figure things out. I want it to unfold. That's part of the fun. I want to sit there and watch it all unfold. But when it is raggedy, that's what that was. It's just raggedy. And I was wondering why bring in all of these elements, except you're in a room and so, okay, we got to bring in another drug, pen, another, the whole desire thing, a gang thing. It's like you were lining up the various elements you thought you needed in order to hit on various things, the injustice in the justice system.
Right.
All of these things, but you didn't maximize all of these elements. So maybe you could have shaved some things away.
Yeah. And even to your point about Nancy Costello and your point about just bringing things in, the whole bloody rag with the dog. Okay. The dog takes the rag in episode 1. We see the dog trying to get the rag in, episode 4. He has a bloody rag in his hand. Everybody's sitting around the table. And Nancy Costello says, "Is that blood?" And he just, you know what, guys? He folds it up and balls it up in his hand. We really haven't been honest with you. And we're expecting, okay, he's about to come clean on something. We've just been really sad. So can I just take Adam outside for a minute and the bloody rag never, ever is mentioned again. Yeah. Like at some point, I wanted to see that come up to tie him to the murder. And then the whole Jimmy Baxter coming into his house. Remember that? Was that episode 2?
It was early on.
For
2
what?
or 3. Yeah.
To show that I know who you are, or I'm intimidating you,
and I can walk through your entire house.
I mean, it was like, what?
And then there was a drop of urine. Remember, he used a bathroom, and there was a drop of urine that landed on the toilet. So I was like, is it going to be like, nobody's used a bathroom, so who is this? And have a DNA test, and it's going to...
Something. Nothing. It was like, okay. Yeah. And look, I'm all for not messing with the mafia, because I don't play that. But gangs or anything, like I'm not trying to, but I'm a judge. If I'm a judge and I have access, if I know someone has been in my house, I'm absolutely going to figure out who it was. And I can't even tell you now how he realized it was him. I don't even remember that. That's how much of an impression it didn't make on me.
But wait a minute. Who realized
that Michael? How did Michael realize that it was Jimmy Baxter?
Did he realize he'd come into the house?
I mean, he knew somebody was in his house, but he didn't. He never found out. Yeah, he knew because the picture had been changed,
had been turned around, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, it just. What was all that for? What was all that for?
So maybe he did. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Lynne, because I had forgotten. So maybe he knew that it was him. And so maybe he was intimidated. Yeah.
By that, yeah.
And, yeah. And that he could easily get into my house.
Right.
He could easily get to me. He could easily get to my son.
And I do think that the Michael character did throughout the whole thing, though, throughout the whole series, I felt like we saw him falling apart as he was trying to hold it together. I thought he did a good job at that, of showing how you, even though you think you're in control of something, you realize you are not ever in control of it. And it just,
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
I
But
thought
he's
he
such
did
an exceptional actor,
he
though.
really is.
He
He
just
really
is,
is.
and that kind of role, man, he just eats
Yeah.
that stuff up.
So when it came to the finale, I was expecting something else. I wasn't
Yes,
expecting that.
I was expecting more of a play from him. That's the thing.
Yeah,
He was smart and
yeah,
strategic.
yeah.
And so I was
Mhm.
expecting that at the last moments he'd do something. I thought
Like
there would
kill
be,
Jimmy.
yes,
Like
something.
like somehow Jimmy Baxter would have been killed.
Yeah, I was
But for
just,
the whole Baxter family to survive intact, I was like,
yeah.
what the hell?
Because here's my thing about that. As a parent, as you said earlier, I would have never thought my child would have been safe anyway. Even if
Unless
I
I
got
kill
your
him.
kid, exactly. Even
Exactly.
if your son is found not guilty, you are going to
Mm-hmm.
kill me and my son.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just because we
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have never felt safe. So in the end, we all going to die,
Right.
or you're going to die.
Right. And that was the other thing about Jimmy Baxter, and Adam.
Hmm.
They say, I remember, and maybe I'm not remembering this right, but as I recall it, around episode 7, Jimmy realizes that Michael has a son, Adam. And then in episode 9, when what's her name says, leave Michael and Adam alone, he's like, Adam?
Adam?
Like he didn't know who Adam
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And then they realize that she's involved with her, his daughter. He realized he's involved with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will say this: when they came out of that courtroom, he and his wife, and they saw Adam in that silhouette with that inhaler, that was genius.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was very well done. It was
and
like
the look on Hope Davis's face.
Yes, yeah,
that little female.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about
we
the
didn't even
mom
talk about
yet.
that monster.
But I was like, okay, so now he realizes it's the son. He realizes he's protecting his son. So you're going to get my son off, but I feel like he was still getting ready to kill his son.
Oh, most definitely.
So
that's what I'm saying
that.
about the whole premise about I'm going to get your son off to protect my son or myself. And I would have never felt myself safe. He's a murderer.
Right.
He kills.
Right.
So I'm going to do my best to delay and keep you thinking I'm on your side until the end. This is what I thought was going to happen when he was going to stab him in the neck, either in the court. And I don't mean literally. I just mean do something to put in place that he takes this family out. So to just go along with everything. So we just have Michael working for Jimmy Baxter. It was just.
But maybe, remember when he said to Nancy Costello, hey, this is a big case and you should see it all the way through. Maybe in his mind, he's going to get Jimmy Baxter on trial through using Joey. But then he goes back in and he sees friggin' Adam holding hands with the daughter and realizes this is over. Yeah. He has the upper hand.
And I was thinking, so maybe the game plan is to get, take the long view, as they say. So to get the Jimmy Baxter. But I'm going to tell you, I didn't give a damn.
Really? I know.
Truly, I didn't, because they had blown that family up.
Yeah.
And that boy had in jail beaten to death.
Yes.
Yeah. So long game, my tail.
Right. As Jimmy Baxter said, you got a dog, you got a son. You got a mother-in-law. What's your move? He was like, okay. Those lines sometimes slay me. It's like that was good. Yeah, you got all that, but what's your move?
You gonna do, boo?
What you gonna do? But then to have him, once Jimmy Baxter realizes that Adam is the killer of his son, and he is now involved in the family, when he went to hug Adam, and what's his name, Michael, could see through the window, because Michael could see him hugging his son. And I thought, okay, that's is that mafia move, like, the kiss of death? And you hug somebody and kiss them the way, Michael did in The Godfather.
Welcome to your final days. We just didn't know it was actually his final minutes.
Final minutes.
Yeah.
And that brings us to that. Really?
Yeah.
I really needed for this is, again, I know people are like, you create your own show and you can write it how you want, but because I'm a viewer and I'm an audience,
and they ask us to invest, so that's something I always remember. They ask us to invest.
Yeah, that I felt the Baxter family needed to feel something. Because they caused a lot of drama in all of this, a lot of pain. And I would have felt that had that young guy, Eugene, shot Carlos, I thought Carlos should have been hit. And then somehow the mom kills Adam. Like the mom I would have felt like the mom needed, because she was a monster. She was cold. She was, so, okay, Carlos, gets that from her, that, somehow Carlos should have been killed, and Adam. I thought it was genius the way Adam died, in the same manner that would set all of this off, the same, the accident, the way the guy on the motorcycle, Rocco, was killed. I thought that was clever. That was clever. But I still felt like at the end of all this, the guy who started this domino effect, is murdered. I mean, is killed. But the Baxter family just, scot-free. And then there's a whole lot of loose ends off of that. That was the end of the
honestly,
show.
When I saw Eugene with the gun, though I didn't want it to be Eugene and I didn't want him to kill anybody, I was like, well, shit, let it be Carlos.
Right.
At least let it be Carlos.
Right. Because that would have made sense, because now you have a young black kid kill somebody who he doesn't even mean to kill. He's killing him by accident, even though he is the guy that started it all. That shouldn't have been him. It should have been he killed Carlos and then somebody kills Adam in all that chaos. Because, that would have made exciting television. And then he just drops the gun and runs. Drops it with all of his DNA on it. And,
Yeah.
So now we know that if this were I know it's a limited series, so there's no season 2, but in a season 2, now we have Eugene going to jail.
Right.
Like, huh? No.
Yeah. And so he is the only one who is going to pay a price. He who has had his entire family slaughtered, blown up.
Right.
So it was just such an unfair ending.
Yeah.
To use it, I guess sounds like a weak word, but I just like, dang, it had to be him.
And that's why I wonder if, when writers are in a writing room, do they consider that? Like, what does that really say? What are we saying to the audience? That, at the end of the day, it's the black kid that's always going to, let's make the black kid the shooter. In what world would that make sense? And he's killing an innocent person in his eyes, because he doesn't know about Adam. So he kills Adam accidentally. Why would you want to make him the bad guy now?
Right.
And I know people's like, well, he killed the guy who killed somebody, so he's not really the bad guy. Yeah, in real life he would be punished for that.
Yeah, he cold-blooded murderer.
Whereas if he had killed Carlos, it's like, okay, you could almost understand it, because Carlos has brutally murdered his brother and also Carlos's father has blown up his entire family.
Yeah.
So then well, okay, eye for an eye, tooth
I
for a
believe they
tooth.
call that street justice.
Right.
I
So
cried no
that's
tears
how
over that.
exactly. So in my instance, and how Lee, while we're talking about the finale, how Lee was just like, here, take the money. He just wasn't who I thought he was. Really, Lee? That's how we're going to let Lee go off? That, like, you're never going to have me. Huh? Lee would have, I felt Lee would have played that completely different. That wouldn't have been no tears from Lee.
I mean, because
Lee
she
would
was
have been like,
pursuing that. Even after, I forgot, Kofi? I don't want to.
mm-hmm,
Kofi was,
Kofi.
I mean, he stayed. So they were so determined. This is the thing that bothered me.
Exactly.
They were so determined in their particular pursuits. She, Nancy, the detective. But when it came to Michael, it's like they were so weak.
Mm-hmm. Because even when he said, here, call Nancy and, just go down. And, he's talking all like, come on, Lee. You've been pursuing this justice that you're willing to go meet with the head of the Desire gang and threaten her. You're all tough with her.
Right.
But when it comes to Michael and his little son, who's murdered somebody, killed somebody accidentally, hit and run, all of a sudden now it's like, oh, I don't want to ruin his life. No, what she should have done is once she realized that Michael was not going to make the call that she thought he was going to make in court, when she walked out and Eugene said, you promised me. I was like, yeah, well, that's what she'd have said. I'm not done, and walked off. Like, so that at least we would think, okay, she's not going to just let this go.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
While you're having a bunch of loose endings, that would have been one I could have lived with.
Yeah, I'm just sad. He wasn't who I thought he was. He broke my heart. Well, hey, this kid is 15 years old without a family.
And you're supposed to be trying to protect him.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like, while you're having the loose endings, you were okay with us not knowing who the hell was in that black SUV from episode 1 until the finale. We still don't know who was in that black SUV, but you want Lee to end with this is her finale. We're gonna wrap Lee up.
Right. Take as much as you can, or something she told him.
Mm-hmm.
Take whatever you can.
But that's
what you come out of this with is?
Yeah. I wanted her to be stronger. I thought she was a stronger person the way she went in there to meet with the head of the Desire gang. Like, I'm not gonna let up on this.
Right. And I want to just say something about Nancy, because both she and Lee disappointed me so.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end, you're standing there with a dirty ass wannabe mayor who promised you, don't make waves for Michael and his beautiful son and his bright, bright future. And I'm going to, you're going to have the cooperation of a mayor in cleaning up your stinky, dirty police department. Trust me, this lying, cretin, corrupt individual standing before you. Trust me, when you've just been betrayed by a man you trusted. I wasn't buying that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it just infuriated me. I'm still infuriated.
Apparently. But isn't that, but that is kind of good television, is like, it should make you feel something.
Right.
Unfortunately, It didn't make us feel the good feeling that we were looking to feel from this. It left us feeling, I don't know, disappointed, as you stated. So, in the beginning, let down by the direction of, the episodes and the character development. And, the finale fell short.
Way short.
And I guess we're just going to have to let that be it, because there's no season 2, apparently.
If there were, I wouldn't watch it. Let me just say that. I've
So
already put in 10 good
wait,
weeks. You're not getting any more of my time.
save your money, Showtime.
But let me add one thing, and I'm glad we waited it. I get this in at the end because this is an observation I had, and probably in the middle of the night or early in the morning when I woke up with Your Honor on my mind. So you're right; it did at least do one thing. It made me think about it a lot. The creators, Robert and Michelle King, created one of my favorite television shows, The Good Wife. But one of my often observations and consistent complaints about that show was how most of the Black characters were nefarious. And it reminded me so much as I watched Your Honor, in particular the finale, because there were white characters who, of course, were not pure. They were corrupt. It's the world of politics. It's Chicago politics. That's where The Good Wife was set. So you got your corrupt element. And some of them were white. But with the exception of one or two Black characters, all the Black characters on that show were not very good. There was something always up with them. Too ambitious, you're backstabbing. They'll cross anybody to get something they wanted. The law, even though it's what they're supposed to love and pursue, they'd use for their own advantages. And I don't mean an advocate of their clients, which is what a good lawyer is supposed to do. I just mean for their own advantages. So it was one of my things. And I remember saying that as I was watching, like, do these people know any good Black folk?
Right.
Because they seem to.
Well, let me ask you this: Did they also do The Good Fight? Were they the producers or creators of The Good Fight?
I think so,
because that was one of my issues with The Good Fight.
Yeah, and that's something you watch and I didn't watch. But I believe so. Let me look up.
Because I know it was a spin-off. Creators, Michelle King and Robert King. And you know what? It's interesting you should say that, because that is one of the issues I had with The Good Fight. While I enjoyed the show, it was almost like it was the white lady that came in to save, this Black law firm, this that had excellent attorneys, until, she came in and exposed all their shenanigans. That turned me off a lot. So maybe you were onto something there.
Yeah, and they'll do it just enough with the white characters, like even I'm thinking of The Good Wife's husband on the show. Character's name was Peter Florrick, by one of my favorites, Chris Noth. But he was always up to something. You always had to listen to Peter and, okay, that's what he's saying, but now what is he really doing? So he had those sprinkles of, he wasn't always good.
Yeah.
He could be easily doing something wrong or bad. So it was always, to me, like they were making it, we're not making all the white characters good, just enough to kind of throw you off the scent. Yeah. But 98% of your Black characters got some poop with them.
And I think sometimes that's in television, when it depends on the lens that you're looking at it. Yeah. And, when you have people writing Black characters without any kind of input, I mean, people that have some control in it, because, they'll say, oh, yeah, we have some Black writers in the writer's room. But if they have no real power, they may as well not be there. To say, we're bringing a different perspective to this, like how you look at this. And when we're looking at Your Honor, we're looking at it as, how are those characters portrayed? Why are their lives so just totally disregarded? Their whole family, all the Black people that were set up. And it's like, I'm not going to, point out Michelle and Robert King specifically, but it's something to be said that they were part of all these three shows, that there's a theme there. I'm going to point out
Robert and Michelle King. Get yourselves some Black friends.
Right.
Those
Yeah,
are
not
black
even
folk.
black writers, just a black friend.
Black writers. Sometimes I think though, watching television, I think it's that the writer's room that's too white or too bland or too the same. But
The
sometimes,
same.
true, I just don't think they know black people in a
Mm-hmm.
personal way.
Mm-hmm. 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 And that's exactly why it's needed. What's needed is, opportunities where black people can control from content creation all the way through distribution to 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 put some perspective on some things.
Yeah.
It's, hey, you get to write. Michelle and Robert King, they get to write what they want and create what they want because they have the power to do so.
Right.
Whether or not
And I've
Lynn and
never
Angela appreciate it.
does not. And here's my
Although
deal. And I
we
just want
are,
to say this because
mm-hmm,
I know they are black drug kings and
mm-hmm,
people who run drugs. And so
mm-hmm.
that's not my complaint.
Nope,
And the
not at
gorgeous
all.
actor, I can't think his name, who played Bishop on The Good Wife, was a darn drug king,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you call him. And he was quite
Kingpin.
scary.
Mm-hmm,
So I know that exists. And if you're gonna,
mm-hmm,
so it's not about it's just that the black characters all seem to not be honorable.
mm. At least have a few
They
that are honorable.
I'm sorry, say again, Lynn.
At least have a few that are honorable.
Just,
Yeah,
the
balance
women.
it. Balance. That's what
That's
we're looking
all
for.
I'm saying.
Balance.
That's
Yes.
all I'm saying. Um,
Yes. Yeah. And you were a big fan of The Good Fight, as you said. I mean, The Good Wife.
watched all
I
7
couldn't
seasons.
quite get into it. I love The Good Fight. You were like, and
No.
Your Honor, I don't know. This might be that
So
one where
yeah, if this is where the tiebreaker or a check for me on The Good Wife, a check for you on The Good Fight, we're giving this, Your Honor, a big X.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So with that, I think we'll stop there. But I just want to again thank my friend, my TV head, my fellow TV film head, the producer who produces much, Lynn. Thank you so much for joining me
Thanks
on
for having me.
Podcast.
I had a
Yeah.
great time. A
Yeah,
lot of fun.
yeah. So I'll extend a standing invitation to
Anytime.
come back. and talk
Anytime.
with us. All right.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
guys
Bye.
for listening. Alrighty, bye-bye.